So let's move to, the whole concept. Cause I've had debates before. I was born in the 70s, raised in 80s, 90s kid. And so was into, and was wayward for a long time because we grew up in the, gangster rap came up from my era. I don't know how old you are. I won't try to guess or even ask, but nonetheless, I grew up in that era, was in my own rap game back in the day. So my kids still give me a bad time about that. And I'm like, don't talk about that. That's John BC before conversion. But the challenge that I have sometimes is, not sometimes, but even in today's world, that hip hop culture is kind of cultivating and fostering. I'm talking about the secular side of it, all of the vice and the sin and the things that are destroying family life and marriage and souls today. And so how do you as an artist reconcile that? Because again, I got your album on repeat. You know what I mean? It's a lot of my workout vibes is Tradiciones. So it's really cool to have a Catholic inspiration there, especially I posted on Our Lady. I'm So Tired is one of my favorite tracks. But how do you answer that from you got parents who are trying to keep their kids from being exposed to the culture and being a Catholic hip hop artist?
No, I wrestle with it myself as well, to be honest with you. I was a big hip hop head, in the 90s. That's really when I started, seventh grade, where I started writing music. My brother and I started writing raps, and it was horrible music. And we talk about like, simple nursery rhymes, but we just started working on it because we got into that culture in the 90s. It was that, we got swept into the East Coast, West Coast beef. If you remember that, I was a huge East Coast fan. I was all about Biggie, Diddy, Mace, and Nas, and I was a huge fan of those guys. I wasn't really a big. I come, later on as I got older, I got more appreciation for Pac and those guys.
Man, we might have had beef back in the day, bro. We might have had beef.
Oh, were you West Coast?
Oh yes, I was on West Coast.
Oh, West Coast, yeah.
I was on West Coast,
You got Cube and Dre, right? And those guys, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So to me, the 90s was the golden era of hip hop. I don't think it'll ever be replicated. That's where I think that's where it really became popular. And a lot of folks like you and I see a lot of folks my age were saying, man, I used to love rap so much, I had to give it up because of how trash it was. And they said, this was a breath of fresh air that I found a traditional Catholic rapper with good content. But for me, I take it even a step further. I don't think just the content. The content becomes intrinsically evil because it violates the principle of the integral good. Because the content itself, among the culture, is gangster rap, is degrading to women, immodest, blasphemous, vain, self-glory. That's what it's all about. And before Biggie, I guess you would say, it was very, they were just showing the reality of what they were living. So it was all about the gangster rap and the gangs and living in the ghettos. Biggie came out, I think, kind of changed the culture a little bit and started talking more about flaunting what you have, and also degrading women in that sense. So the music itself, I think, needs to be listened to in moderation. When I say music, I'm talking about no words, just instrumental music itself, because the music itself is syncopated. Now, I love music. I think music has its place. I think different types of music have its place. I think chant is the highest form of music. Absolutely, because because it reaches the chant is made for the intellect because it's the simplest form, and the intellect is the highest form of man. It's in the simplest form, it reaches the intellect. Harmony is really for the will, the heart. And then you've got the melodies and the beat, which is the passion. And rap is syncopated because it's derived from jazz and rock, to be honest with you. So it takes the hierarchy of music and flips it to the point where now the irascible and the concupiscible appetite become the main force of what it's trying to relate to. So it became an issue for me. So then I thought to myself, well, first of all, everything belongs to God. Everything, everything that is on this earth belongs. If it exists, if it comes to existence, it belongs to God.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that rap music, rock music, pop music, in its content and in its form is contrary. It's we're really listening to a secular world that is contrary to our creed. As a matter of fact, not only contrary to our creed, but their creed is almost to a point where it's blasphemous.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, there's a lot of folks out there who still like rap, but have given it up because of the content. If I can, if I can put something together that is not really too syncopated, because if you listen to some of the beats that I select and the producers that I work with, I try to find beats that have certain melody changes to them that don't just loop over and over. And I try to do that on purpose because I wanted to have more of a melodic a taste, but still keep the rap form within it. And I try to make the content as deliberately Catholic and authentically Catholic as possible. So that way, because we memorize music a lot easier than we memorize textbooks. You got these kids, you ask them to play your latest little baby song, and they'll recite it from front to back without a problem because within their subconscious. But you ask them to say the Ten Commandments. I was a youth minister. I could attest to this. You ask them to tell the Ten Commandments, not even in order. They couldn't figure out five of them. So I figure, what a great medium, which is what music is. Same as TV, it's a medium. And a medium can never be intrinsically evil. It could be consumed in moderation. But what makes it intrinsically evil is what comes out of it. And I think a lot of the pop and rap music are intrinsically evil and should be avoided. But I think the music that I come up with, or some of the other rappers, or even musicians, to be honest with you, I would say the same thing about praise, what people call praise and worship music.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the syncopated understanding of praise and worship music and rap, because they're both syncopated and they both attack the same. It's the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
They derive from the emotion. But I would say that in moderation, I don't think you have to moderate Gregorian chant because it appeals to the intellect. You can play it all day, 24/7.
Yep.
But I think if you listen to, for example, a lot of people nowadays are listening to Tradiciones at the gym. A lot of guys tell me that it's one of their number one album that they're playing at the gym. And I'm saying to myself, hey, if you're exercising, you're lifting weights, and you're listening to Die for This or Under Construction, and some of those words are getting into your intellect, that's what I really wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think about under construction, man. It's a pep talk at the end of that, right? That gives you the, go lift something heavy, man, and go do something hard. No, that's a great breakdown because I didn't think people, and it's always good. Part of the reason I like to do this podcast is to get to know the person behind whatever people have as far as an image. And you are talking about, some of the philosophy and the theology behind your approach to how you approach a difficult topic. And I appreciate your vulnerability and candidness around, it's a struggle. Can hip hop and holiness coexist? Right. And I was very much that mindset because, when you've worked for the other side and played for the other side, right? So I used to be the devil's puppet for a long time. I tend to swing the other way, right? Like, I know what he's got to say. I'm going to get rid of and purge everything that resembles what once was. And I think the beautiful thing about being Catholic and that idea of, I think about theology of the body and the redeeming of, eros, or the redemption of our sexuality, or the fact that God can write straight with crooked lines, all those, those different kind of sayings and phrases that we've heard, is in a way that you're approaching this craft of creating music in a specific genre that hopefully caters to the intellect primarily, while staying true to the genre as best you can without compromising one's soul. I think it's beautiful because there's nothing else out there.